Hey guys, it's Lauren Yates here, celebrity interviewer, entertainment reporter, and the host of this podcast, Rave It Up, celebrity news, reviews, and interviews. If this is the first time you're listening, go check out our show's trailer on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to learn more about us. And make sure to follow us on social media to tell us what else you would like to hear from this podcast. We are under Rave It Up TV on Instagram, Rave It Up Show on Facebook, and our website is raveituptv.com.
3, 2, 1.
Let's do this.
Rave it up.
Hey guys, it's RJ May from Breaking Bad.
Adam Savani from Step Up.
It's Keegan Allen from Pretty Little Liars.
Hi, this is Ida Butler.
It's Cosentino.
It's Rob Mills.
Todd McKenney with Lauren Yates on Rave It Up.
Raving it up.
Rave it up.
Fun.
Hashtag Lauren, rave it up.
Sorry.
Thank you, I like that
I heard
effect.
raving. We're raving it up.
Ultimately, it comes down to I have to honor myself and my heart, and I can't ignore that. And I've done it in the past, and it's never worked out well. And I've had a few moments in my life where there have been difficult decisions, and I know that's what I need to do, but I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to do it. Like, my mind's like, no, like, just ignore your heart. Just ignore that. Just keep doing this, and you try and create all these excuses and reasons.
In March this year, former Heartland actor Graham Wardle came back on our show to talk about leaving the famous Canadian drama after 13 to 14 years of playing Ty Borden, and about what he's been up to since then, like his amazing podcast, Time Has Come. And so many of you love the interview, and him, I understand why. That is why I thought it would be fun to talk about the behind the scenes of the interview today, answer your questions about the interview process. But before we start, I just want to say sorry that this podcast episode is late. It was supposed to be up a couple of weeks ago, but as many of you know, if you follow me personally or the Rave It Up pages on social media, you know that I came down with a really bad ear infection that was making me really dizzy. And I was pretty much stuck in bed or on the couch for a week and a half to 2 weeks, because anytime I'd stand up, it wouldn't be long till I'd have to sit back down again. There was even one day when I stood up and I just felt nauseous every single time. I've always had a heat pack against my ear to bring the pain down. It was just horrible. It has been a full-on month, because just before that I had a cold for about a week, and then I was better for 4 days before this ear infection came up and took me out of action for longer. And let me tell you, it feels good to be working again and feeling somewhat normal, because damn, I was sick of being sick. I was so energy deprived that I couldn't do much work on my laptop either, even though I wanted to, and obviously wasn't in any shape to record this podcast episode for you guys. So I'm sorry again, but I'm feeling much better now than I was. Some days there might be a little ear pain or a very small amount of dizziness, so I am taking it slow. But I didn't want you guys to wait any longer. I do also want to say thank you to those who sent their best wishes on social media and hoped I got better soon. In particular, I want to thank Bev4368 on Instagram. She was actually constantly private messaging me to check up on me. So thanks, Bev. And thank you to all of you. You're all so loving and caring, and I appreciate your support of me and Rave It Up. Now, anyway, enough about me and my weird health this month. Let's get into this podcast episode. Now, when I posted about this episode on social media, I asked about what you wanted to know about my interview with Graham, and there was some miscommunication. A lot of you thought I was interviewing Graham again, and wow, I'd be so lucky if that were true. I only interviewed him, just over a month ago. There wouldn't be much really to talk about, but give it time. Maybe again soon. I did get some questions come through, though, that were regarding this episode, which I will answer throughout today. Some were very vague or funny, like Heartland 2021.14 Graham Wardle on Instagram. She just said, I want to know everything. Well, your wish is my command. Let's first speak about the technical difficulty in the interview. Now, I didn't want to bring it up, but it is something everyone noticed in the first 2 minutes or so. So let's rip the Band-Aid off and talk about it quickly. I am really glad that I told my team to write it on the YouTube video, and I'm also glad I said it in the podcast episode, because otherwise I know we would have gotten so many comments about it. Now let me tell you, It was just a mistake. When I record my Zoom interviews, I record through Zoom, but also Camtasia, and I screen record it, and then obviously have a camera on me as well. I did realize at the beginning of the interview that I forgot to press record on Zoom, but I was thinking, that's all right, we got the Camtasia recording. I definitely spoke too soon to myself. Because right at the end, because Graham and I were talking for so long, for like over an hour, it was obviously such a huge file for Camtasia, and when I went to go stop the recording and save it, it decided to crash on me. Really bad luck that day, which really, really sucked. But I did try to fix it as well. I private messaged Graham on Instagram because I don't actually have his phone number, but unfortunately he saw it too late. So unfortunately we didn't get to re-record that intro part and make it fantastic for you guys. But I thought as long as we write it on the YouTube video and I say it in the podcast episode, you guys will hopefully understand. And I'm really, really glad that everyone did. So thank you. Now, I gotta say, I had so much fun preparing for this interview. And obviously I've interviewed him once before, and I'm really glad that I actually asked you guys what you wanted to know on social media, because I've already obviously asked him a lot about Heartland and even about his education background and how he's gotten to where he is today. And I knew I had so many questions about the new season of Heartland and leaving the show. But boy, did you guys help me out even more. I got bombarded with questions on social media, but I am really glad I did ask you. Took me a little while to sift through all the comments. So I do want to say sorry that I couldn't ask them all because there were so many. I just picked out some of the best ones and the ones that I really liked and even I wanted to know. So I'm sure a lot of you are wondering about the whole preparation process for this interview. Well, I first went back over my last questions with him. I always have them written down in a Word document for every single one of my interviews. And then I actually sift through all of those questions. And sometimes there's even ones from the previous interview that I didn't have time to ask. So sometimes I grab those and ask them the second time. And then my next step was to sift through all of your questions. A lot of them were about Heartland, obviously, so I really had to pick and choose for those because there was other things I obviously wanted to talk to him about, and I knew the whole interview wasn't just going to be about Heartland. I'm really sorry about that too. I wish it could. Maybe next time. And then I actually stalk Graham or any of my guests on social media. I know that sounds bad, but it is part of my job, so it's totally understandable. And I see what he has been up to since he was last on the show. I had already listened to several episodes of his podcast because I personally love it, so I didn't really need a prep in that arena. And then I wrote down all the questions that came to me at the top of my head, things I wanted to know, but I also knew that you guys wanted to know too. There's kind of like a fine line there, isn't there? Not everything I want to know, you guys want to know. Luckily, I've been doing this for about 10, 11 years, so I've gotten quite good at it now. I had so much, even more fun in this interview than our last one. And our last one was really, really good too. I like to classify Graham and I as like work friends now. We just both get along so well. And I noticed in this interview how much more we had in common. Like spirituality, that's a really big thing. I knew that we did sort of have that in common, but we talked about it more in this interview, which I loved. And also about looking after our mental health, not caring what others think about us, even our social media and phone usage. Because in this field, we do need our social media, but we also don't like to just be living off it all the time because it goes back to our mental health and it can affect that as well. We also love to put our heart and soul into our podcasts, especially our editing. We are both perfectionists and have to tell ourselves to actually chill out and just live with whatever's there and not to be too nitpicky because you do eventually have to publish it. You can't just keep editing it. And as you guys know, he is so easy to talk to and to get along with. Well, I know you guys probably haven't had a chance to talk to him personally, but you can see from our interview how easygoing he is. And we had so many laughs in this interview too. And as I said, I learned so many more things about him, not just things we had in common, but just a lot of deep things that we spoke about. And I'm sure you guys learn a lot too. You probably noticed we took ages to talk about Heartland because we're just so engrossed in talking about the other areas of his life, like his projects with Lynetta Linda. We'll be right back after this quick ad break with some fan questions, so don't go anywhere.
Hey guys, it's RJ May from Breaking Bad.
Adam Savani from Step Up.
Bryce Johnson from Pretty Little Liars.
Rob Mills. Todd McKenney with Lauren Yates on Rave It Up.
These celebrities are sharing a message of hope and inspiring the younger generation in our new book, Knowing What I Know Now. This is filled with 70 quotes from your favourite celebrities on what they would tell their 14-year-old selves. A book filled with amazing advice to help you chase your dreams or help you deal with bullying or depression. It is available worldwide as a paperback or ebook version. Go to raveituptv.com to buy your copy now. There is even an audiobook version coming very soon.
Now let's get into these fan questions. Ali.s13 on Instagram. She just said, tell us everything that wasn't in the interview. Fantastic question, Ali. Well, we spoke about a few things. I obviously don't publish everything that I recorded because we do speak a little bit before the interview, we speak a little bit after the interview, and because it had been quite a while since we last spoke, we were just chatting about the real simple things in our lives that have happened since we last spoke. And before we started recording, because I'm a fan of his podcast, I obviously wanted to talk to him a little bit about that. And you guys probably noticed from the YouTube video, even though he still had the same background and he was still filming in the exact same area, his setup just looked so much more amazing, didn't it? Like his face was just so much more crystal clear, and the lighting was perfect. So we had a little bit of a talk about, before we started recording, about his camera setup, because I'm really interested in that, and I want to know what camera he's using and the lighting he's using, because maybe I can put it into my setup too. And you guys, if you listen to the interview, know that he did quickly comment on that he's used my show as a bit of a motivation and inspiration for his podcast. And he actually spoke about that even more before I started recording, which just touched my heart because obviously as a Heartland fan myself, and to watch him on the show and then be able to interview him, to have him say that my show is an inspiration for him, oh my goodness, I had to pinch myself, guys. And even at the end of the interview, he was actually asking me about any tips that I might have for making a podcast and for interviewing people. So that was another real honor. So thank you, Graham, if you're listening today. Since he's a fan of the show, he may be listening, who knows? Now, next question is from India Dala de Fretes. I'm so sorry if I pronounce any of your names wrong today, by the way. India says, tell us what it was like to interview the greatest idol of all time. Boy, if Graham's listening, what an amazing compliment, right? India also asks, did you have moments with lots of laughter? Because Graham is a lot of fun. And India, yeah, lots of laughing. I've never laughed so much than when I'm with Graham. And you can just see it. You can just see it yourselves when you watch our chat. I will tell you more about our funny moments later on in this podcast episode when I talk about my favourite parts of the interview. Plus, I'll even play some snippets so we can all laugh together. As you know, I'm a big Heartland fan, as I mentioned before, so I remember the first time I interviewed him, and it did feel a bit weird to be talking to Ty Borden from Heartland. But I'm really glad to say now when I talk to him, it's just Graham. It's actually more weird now when I watch him on the show. So it was definitely a great honor, as India says, to interview the greatest idol of all time. Now, Talia Ventura on Instagram, she said she'd love to know if in the interview the conversation flows as naturally as it sounds, or is there some embarrassing silences or something like that? Great question. There has been some interviews in the past that I've done that, yes, I've had to edit out some weird silences here and there, and it might not just be because the conversation's not flowing. It could just be because of some delay with Zoom or Skype, even a phone call. But I'm very happy to say that in terms of the things I've edited, there is absolutely no awkward silences that I had to edit out. And even when I watch back the video, I'm just laughing my head off at our chat. And as you can see, we just had so much fun. And because we'd spoken to each other before, we're a lot more comfortable with each other, and the conversation did just flow. So fantastic question, Tali. Now, Ritu Josh 8318 asks, how much time did you edit out? And also, the time zone difference, was it easy for you both? And also, Kate Deegan on Facebook also asked about the time difference between us two. I'll first answer, how much time did I edit out? Not much time at all. The things I edit out are just mostly the beginning when we're just chatting before we really start the interview, and also after, like when he records an ID. If you guys don't know what an ID is, it's just him going, hey guys, it's Graham Wardle and you're listening to Rave It Up with Lauren Yates, that sort of thing. And in the last interview, that's when I talked to him about getting some photos signed to give away to you guys. So not much is edited out, to be honest, unless a guest actually says, hey, I didn't like that question, or I don't like how I answered that, could you just edit that out for me? But I'm happy to say Graham did not ask that at all. The only other things that I just edit are obviously just the camera angles. So you probably noticed there's two different camera angles for me, one that's recording from Zoom, and then the other angle which is from my video camera. And then editing that against Graham's camera angle through either the Zoom or the Camtasia screen recording. So you guys should be very happy that nothing else is edited out for this interview. Not all my interviews are like that though, just to let you know. Now, getting to the time difference, I like to say that over the 10, 11 years that I've been doing this, time difference I've gotten very good at. In the beginning, it confused the hell out of me, to say the least. So whenever I organize an interview, especially obviously if they're overseas, I ask where they are in the world and what time zone they are in. And then when they want to organize a day and a time, I just give them a whole list of days and times that I'm available, but I've actually already converted them into the time zone that they're in, if that makes sense. So in a Word document, I will write the days and times I'm available here in Sydney, Australia, and then I convert them to what that time will be in, say, Canada, where Graham is. And then I just send the Canadian time to the publicist or the manager or even the guests themselves. And then that way, it just makes it so easy for them to decide which time works for them. I don't want them having to be like, okay, now I got to convert the time difference. I do it for them. So for this interview, it was 10 a.m. here in Sydney, which was 5 p.m. for Graham. And in our last interview, it was 9 a.m. here, so 4 p.m. over there. So it worked out really well. Sometimes when I'm writing days and times that I'm available, when I look at the time differences, I'll never pick, say, a time that's going to be 10 p.m. for him or something, or 1 a.m. for him. I would not expect them to do an interview at that time. So I'm very respectful in that regard. And the more days and times that I give them, it makes it very easy for them to decide, because I know, especially if they have a busy schedule, they might not be able to do at least half of the days and times that I've actually given them. So there's a little insight into time difference. And if you guys ever want to get into what I'm doing, you will have to get your head around that. Luckily, there's just so many amazing apps, and just Google is amazing just for time difference. I downloaded on my phone an app called Time Buddy, and you can just pick wherever you are. So I'm Sydney, Australia, and then pick what time you want to convert that into. Very, very easy. Go check it out, guys. Now, Queen Bee Designer on Instagram. Oh, you must be a designer or something. That's pretty cool. I'd love to hear more about that. Wants to know, did you discuss ahead of time what questions or subjects are off limits? Now, this is actually something I talked to the guest about right before I start recording, or I maybe have started recording, I just haven't started the interview yet. And that is actually something Graham said he loved from our last interview, and now he does for his interviews. That was one of the things that we were chatting about before the interview. But I'm happy to say Graham did not have anything off limits. For some other guests, they do have things off limits, some personal life stuff that they might not want to talk about. And I ask that just because I'm very respectful and I don't want them to feel uncomfortable in any way. And also some guests like the interview questions ahead of time. For me, I personally don't like doing that because I'd rather have the authenticity of them hearing the question for the very first time. But if they want it ahead of time, I'm obviously not going to say no. Graham was one that didn't have the questions beforehand. So there you go. Lynn Parks on Instagram says, I just want to know if he's happy and if he made the right decision to leave Heartland now he's had time to reflect on it. And it's very similar to another one on Instagram, KDD5678_Kathy_C. That's hard to say out loud. I would like to know if he's happy now with life after Heartland. Very two similar questions I just wanted to answer. Now, as I said, I didn't edit anything out, and we didn't actually have, a big discussion about Heartland before we started recording. I think we did mention it very quickly at the end, that, he obviously wanted to be really honest with you fans. That was pretty much all he was just telling me at the end. And I don't know whether this was in the interview or not, but in terms of the next question I was just about to answer to, Heidi Dean 73 on Instagram asked, did the interview reveal any plans Graham has this year for acting or other interests/passions? He did reveal to me, and I forget whether it was actually in the recording or not, because I've done many interviews after that, is that he doesn't actually have any plans to act per se for a while. He is going to take a bit of a break off that. But with his podcast right now, it's not like we're never going to hear him again or be able to see him again. He's got his cameo. So there's so many other ways that we can still support Graham. And I'm going to mention that a little bit later on in the interview too. But I definitely think Graham has made the right decision to leave Heartland. And if you listen to that part of the interview where he's talking about just how hard that decision was for him to make, he really had to be honest with himself. And, you guys can understand he'd been playing that character for 13 to 14 years. That's a big chunk of his life. And he wants to go and explore other things within this industry. You only live once. He can't just play the same character forever. And we all know Heartland won't be around forever unless it's the new Young and the Restless or something. But people do have to move on eventually. And I'm so proud of him that he was really honest with himself and put himself first, because a big thing on his mind was obviously letting all of you fans down. What a huge weight on his shoulders though. So as I said, I'm so proud that he's made this decision. And from what I've gotten from him through that interview, I don't think he regrets it at all. The only regret I guess he does have is letting you guys down. But there's been so much amazing feedback and people just really respecting his decision and still supporting him. He's really feeling the love, guys. So just keep sending the love to him, okay? And our last question today kind of does mesh well into what I was just saying. Roy Sanders 401 on Instagram asked, why has he not found himself after 34 years? Maybe his self-awareness is looking in the wrong direction. I honestly don't think his self-awareness is looking in the wrong direction. I'm sure it was before he found things like meditation and really getting to the center of himself and knowing who he is and what he wants out of life. But as we said, that weight on his shoulders to not let his fans down must be such a huge responsibility. So I don't think it's not just because he hasn't found himself after 34 years. I think it's that he finally put himself first to make that decision to finally go explore other things within his life and his career. Acting will still always be a huge part of his life because obviously it was his dream and his love. He went to go study acting and then got this amazing role for 13 to 14 years. That's so lucky. After studying and getting a degree or a diploma, to get an amazing gig like that straight after studying and for it to last that long and be in a job, be employed for that long is actually quite rare in this industry. So he definitely doesn't take any of it for granted. But I hope that what I've been saying today kind of even answers Roy Sanders 401's question. I definitely think he has found himself earlier than 34 years, but this was just when he made that big decision. I obviously can't speak for Graham, but that's what I think. Now, I'll be talking about the new season of Heartland after this quick ad break, so don't go anywhere.
Did you know Rave It Up now has a private Facebook group where we give away regular prizes and you get to have a sneak peek at what we're up to? You'll get to see some fun behind the scenes action and can be part of the interview process yourself, just like a real journalist. So come join us and share your passion for entertainment with all of our other fans. Just search Rave It Up Community on Facebook and we look forward to getting to know you.
Do you have something to say or sell and wanting to launch an email marketing campaign to engage your customers? Constant Contact can help you. They have all the tools you need to market your ideas, and they make it quick, easy, and affordable to build a professional brand online, attract customers, and sell more products, helping you achieve real results. You can sign up now for free to try it out. Go to our website, raveituptv.com, and click on the Constant Contact ad on our right sidebar. It'll take you straight there. What have you got to lose? Now, I want to talk about Heartland quickly before we finish up today. With the new season, I know heaps of people aren't enjoying it now or even refuse to watch it because Graham isn't in it anymore. But I think you should show your support for the show and the other actors who put all their time and effort into creating something beautiful. As you know, I've interviewed pretty much all of the main cast now, except for Georgie, but I'm working on that, guys. And they all have worked so hard. Go check out those interviews if you haven't already. And also do it for Graham, because that was 13 to 14 years of his life, and we want to keep the show going for as long as we can. And for it to be available all around the world now, we can help. And as I mentioned before, but I just really want to drive this point home, is I am so proud of Graham for following his heart and doing what makes him happy. So don't be too sad, guys. I will admit I cried when Ty Borden died on Heartland, and then again for the memorial they did for him. But it's not like we can never support Graham again, or see or hear his work ever again. Come on, his podcast, Time Has Come, is incredible. If you haven't had a listen to it already, please go do so. There's always something to learn from what Graham has to say. And also, you can go follow Graham Wardle Podcast on Instagram. It is a Brazilian fan-run page supporting Graham as a podcaster, because that is definitely his next journey after acting. I also loved and appreciated how honest and raw Graham was in our interview. When I asked him about whether he knew he was going to leave the show the last time I spoke to him, he said yes. Some people won't, but I completely understand where he was coming from. If you put yourself in his shoes, my shoes, anyone's shoes in this industry, there's just some things you can't talk about or reveal until the time is right, or when someone says you can. For Graham, that must have been so constricting and limiting and quite controlling. Now with his podcast being his own baby, he can say and do whatever he likes, whenever he likes. That must be so freeing. I'm just going to leave that there with you now to think about that. Now, I'm going to share my favorite parts of my interview with Graham after this very last ad break. Don't go anywhere. It only goes for about 30 seconds.
Hey, I'm Jazz, a life, mindset, and business coach.
And I'm Emily, your anti-bullying and self-love goddess.
And we are the co-hosts of our podcast, Dare to Glow,
where we dive deep and show you how to glow from the inside out.
We will be getting raw and real into self-love, manifestation, and spirituality.
We can't wait to connect and share a piece of our soul with you so we can all glow together. So come and check us out over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts today.
It is now time for my favorite parts of my interview with Graham. First of all, I loved talking about his podcast, in particular his magic painting question. I've listened to many episodes of his podcast, and I was always so intrigued by this question, and every time he asks his guest the question, while I'm driving, I'm thinking, I wonder what my answer would be. And then when I'm asking Graham about it, he turns it back on me and asks me what my answer would be, which really, really surprised me, guys, because obviously I'm the interviewer, you're the interviewee, you know, but sometimes it's fun when it flips it back around.
And so the question goes like this: if you had a magic painting that was in your house, in your bedroom or wherever you wanted it, And anytime you looked at this magic painting, you could feel any type of feeling you wanted to feel. What feeling would you choose? And what color or colors would you want in that painting to represent that for you?
There's also a funny bit where we have a laugh about how times have changed. Like when phones used to hang on a wall. Here's a snippet.
You know, remember when phones used to just be on the in your house?
On the wall?
On the wall? Yeah, that's a goal of mine, to get back to having a phone on the wall.
And if you wanted to chat to your friend, it would be like you have to talk to their mum and dad and go, can I please talk to Graham?
Are they home? No, they're not home right now. Yeah.
They're doing their homework.
And it was so funny when he was first talking about making money from ads on YouTube. I completely resonated with this because I felt the exact same way when I started making money on YouTube. Here's a snippet of that one too.
When I made my first $6 on YouTube from like ads, I was so proud. I was like, I made $6. Yeah, I made $6 off ads. Like, yes. I've never been so proud of my life.
In conclusion today, it was so much fun to interview Graham Wardle again. It's always a pleasure to have him on the show. And Graham, if you're listening, as you know, you're welcome on anytime. Graham and I even discussed at the end of the interview to have him on in the future for maybe an episode just on mental health and meditation. We'll see though. It was just the thought. Nothing's been put into action yet. But please let me know if you like that idea. Maybe we can make it happen. Anyway, I hope you all loved this behind the scenes episode today. Please share it with your friends. Tell them about Rave It Up and our podcast if you want to see us continue to put new content up every week. And thanks again for all of your support. My team and I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. If you want to be the first to get every new episode, remember to subscribe to this podcast for free. Just search for Rave It Up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and share it with your friends. And tell us what you loved the most, and even let us know what you want to hear on this podcast. You can even check out the videos of our interviews on our YouTube channel, Rave It Up TV. And for more, visit our website, raveituptv.com. Now, before I leave you today, I just want you to remember that you are loved and you are beautiful. Bye!